Hey guys, how's it going? Brian Burns here with the Master Key Group at RE/MAX Downtown, and we're talking about the fundamentals of real estate investing. Now, over the last few weeks and actually even months, we've been talking about everything from the ground floor stuff of vocab words, things like that, to different pros and cons of real estate investment types, all the way up to mathematically being able to identify a good real estate investment opportunity for yourself. Now, in order to experience a true return on investment, you have to sell the final product, right? Now, we've gone over how much money that you can make throughout the ownership of that property. Well, anytime a big check is cashed and put into your bank account, the next person that comes knocking is Uncle Sam looking for his taxes, right? Now, we're going to talk about today a real estate investor's worst nightmare, and that is capital gains taxes. Now, in this nightmare, we have our antagonist, capital gains taxes, but we also have the protagonist who triumphs over all, and that's going to be a 1031 exchange, okay? So this is a lot of math, first of all, because this has to do with your taxes, which is basically all of what taxes are, is math. What is really going to be highlighted here is going to be the amount of taxes that you are going to have to end up paying. But what we're going to talk about next week is the ability to forego those taxes to use your full return on your investment to reinvest in real estate, to either reinvest in, real estate of like kind. So you can sell a large multiplex and buy 5 different investment properties. You can sell 5 different small investment properties and buy one, multifamily or apartment building. You could also roll it over into a primary residence. That's the key, and we'll talk about that as well, in the next coming episodes. Let's break down this particular investment though. And what we're doing is we're not going to go into super fine details like we have with some of the other ones. This is, like I said, just to generally show you what kind of taxes that you're going to have to come up with at the end of one of these investments. So property A, we paid $200,000 for it. We bought it 10 years ago, and we're going to say that we owe $80,000 left on the mortgage, okay? First thing we have to do, we've got a selling price here. We've sold it for $500,000. Great job, good investment, right? Now we have to subtract our selling costs, $10,000. Now that's going to be everything from real estate fees all the way down to taxes. Okay, so we're going to use an easy number, $10,000. That gives you the adjusted sell price of $490. Okay, from there we're going to take our original cost basis, and you're going to see that this is $205. Well, I thought we paid $200,000 for it. You're actually going to be able to use the $5,000. We're just estimating that for your closing costs as well. You can use that as your original cost basis. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add the improvements. So it's always good to keep track of things that you've had to do to the property. For instance, a new roof, a new AC. Maybe we did some renovations to the property to make it worth that $500,000 that we got for it. So we're going to go ahead and add the improvements to that to get $235,000. Now, all of these numbers are going to come into play later on, but we got to get these numbers to start with, kind of like how we did in the beginning, finding out ROI, NOI, things like that, right? We need to get the baseline numbers. Now, what we're going to look at here is depreciation. Now, what you're able to do is over the course of owning a home, a residential property, not commercial, residential, you can take depreciation of the home for 27 and a half years. Now, we're going to use the full price of the home. Actually, technically, you only use the value of the structure, not the land. When your home is appraised, they tell you the land value, and then they tell you the structure value. So you actually will only take 27.5% of the structure because the land never gets used up, right? But for this example, we'll use $200,000 because, like I said, it's not really to get into the weeds of it. It's more to show you generally how much your tax liabilities are going to look like. So we take the original price, divide it by 27.5, and generally speaking, it's about 3.6% of the value. So take the original price of $200,000, divide it by 27.5. That gives us $7,250 that we're able to deduct on our taxes each year. We've owned it for 10 years, so we multiply it by how many years we've owned it. That's easy math, 72,500. That gives us our adjusted basis of 162,500. Okay, now we have a total taxable gain. This comes into play when we're looking at your state income tax. Now we get that by taking our adjusted basis and subtracting it from our selling price. This number will come into play for state taxes. Okay, now next thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the red. This is where your taxes start coming into play. Okay, so we have capital gains taxes, right? That's the big word we're looking for. and we're going to do it at 15%. Now, generally speaking, it's between 15 and 20%, and it really just depends on your personal tax, your tax situation. But we're going to go with the lower end of this, okay, 15%. So we take line 3. Line 3 is your adjusted sale price. We take the 490, and then we do line 6. Line 6 right here is our cost basis plus improvements, 235. We subtract those and multiply it by 15%. Boom, that's your tax bill, $38,000, right over that, right off the jump. Now, the next thing we're going to discuss is what's usually referred to as the hidden tax, things that people don't generally think about when they're selling their property. They get to here, and then they think that they're done. So just imagine if you were going to sell your property and you thought you were going to get, say $60,000, you're thinking, oh, I have a $22,000 profit. But then you realize that you have what's called recapture depreciation. Now, you've been writing off the depreciation off your taxes for the last 10 years, and Uncle Sam is not one to forget that. So he's going to take that $72,500, all right, and he's going to take 20% of that back from you, okay? So that's $18,250. So imagine we thought we were making $22,000, then they hit you with $18,000. That's almost half of what you originally thought you were going to pay. They hit you with that. Now you're only bringing home $4,000. All right. So this is what's referred to as the hidden tax, but it's something that you definitely want to take into consideration when you're coming up with that or your final numbers. Now, your state income tax, that comes up. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, right? Luckily, in Florida, the state income tax is 0%. So that's great. But if you're living in a state like California or New York, they're going to get you 12.3%. That's huge. And you're getting that off the big number, not the chopped down number after everyone else takes their piece of the pie. They're taking it from the whole pie. They're taking it from this total taxable gain right here, this $327,500. So you're taking 12% and 8% in California and New York. So taxes due in Florida, $56,000. We add these two numbers together, okay? Now, taxes due in New York, boom, $85,000. That's $30,000 more because you're taking that 8% of your taxable gain. California, man, they give you a beat down. All right, $40,000 more just because of the state that you're selling it in. And I mean, a home like this, $500,000, that's chump change. That's not even a down payment on a house. So imagine that times 3, 4, 5, and what kind of capital gains it looks like you're going to be paying on that. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to break down what is the final number that I could have brought home or could have reinvested, and what is the final number that I'm actually bringing home if I want to cash that check and call it a day, all right? So we take our sale price, $500,000. Remember, we owe the bank $80,000. We can't leave without paying them first, right? Our equity in the home is then seen as $420,000. Sale costs, that's for selling the home. We'll take $10,000 out for that. Now, before tax, this is what we would be bringing home, $410,000. Now, that's a sweet payday, right? Now, but remember, Uncle Sam's here. He's sitting there. It's real uncomfortable. He wants you to pay him. So we got to do our taxes. $56,000, these two taken out. All right, then we walk home with $350,000. That's still not a bad payday. You're still, it's not a bad payday. But just imagine, wouldn't you have rather had $56,000 more to invest in real estate? I would think so, right? I don't want to have to give any of this up. Forget it if you're if you're doing New York and California. California, you're losing another. You might just break it 300, just at 300. That means they're taking a quarter of what you've made. Now, you've maintained the home, you've taken care of the lawn, you're the one who's found tenants for it, but now they come in and they want $100,000 of your dollars, right? That's where doing a 1031 exchange really comes into play, because you can take this full $410,000, not chopped up with these taxes, and you can reinvest it in real estate, and you can combine them into one large investment, or you can spread it out into multiple investments. And what we'll talk about next week is how you do that, okay? Because there's time periods, there's different things that you have to abide by, but we're going to take that full 410 and reinvest it, all right? I'll talk to you guys later. A lot of math. Definitely feel free to review this, but it's definitely a very important lesson, especially for real estate investors for the long term. I'll talk to you later. Bye.